Coming up next on Making Moves, JTA opens a new transit hub along 2 major corridors. We'll take you to the opening and show you what JTA wants to do right next door. The authority is gearing up to launch its regional express service in 2 more counties. We'll tell you where. And the Making Moves correspondents are all here to look back at the top stories of 2019. I'm Bill Milnes. These stories and more right now on Making Moves. Hello and welcome to Making Moves. I'm Bill Milnes. On today's show, we'll tell you where the JTA is planning to launch 2 new express services. And 2019 is gone, but certainly not forgotten. We'll look at some of the top local transportation stories from this past year with the reporters who covered them. But let's get things started from US 1, just steps from University Boulevard, where JTA just opened another new transit hub. If you like country music, you may remember this location as the former home to the Crazy Horse Saloon and Dance Hall. Now it will be a key stop for several JTA routes, including the popular First Coast Flyer Blue Line. But JTA has bigger plans for this property than just a new transit hub.
The new transit hub is now fully operational and features covered shelters, benches, bike racks, and totems with real-time bus arrival alerts and other essential information for JTA passengers. The off-street location and paved sidewalks make it easy for riders to safely walk or ride their bikes to catch the First Coast Flyer Blue Line and the 3 other JTA routes that serve the new hub.
It's truly an honor to be here as we open up this new University Transit Hub. This project is another example of how the JTA is helping our community by building world-class transportation infrastructure, improving the quality of life for our citizens. The schedule during peak periods is a bus every 10 minutes, and during this time of the day, it's a bus every 15 minutes, and we're meeting our mark. So it's great to see this project come to fruition in this facility.
District 5 City Council member Leanna Cumber says the new hub will have far-reaching benefits.
This transit hub really will contribute to the revitalization of Phillips Highway. And as everyone in this tent can see, Phillips Highway is changing. And I really do believe it's going to look very different in 5 years than it looks today.
Wade Powers with Colliers International, a commercial real estate company, says the adjacent property, also acquired by JTA, is now being offered for lease. He says JTA is hoping to partner with businesses that will create a positive synergy with JTA customers using the transit hub.
Food service, convenience, even a multi-tenant retail center where you'd have the passengers be, on site where they have an option of things that they might need, be it a hair salon, be it any sort of, service industry.
All 4 routes serving the University Transit Hub, including the First Coast Flyer Blue Line, will connect with the new Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at LaVilla, opening next month across from the Convention Center. These are just the latest upgrades and improvements that JTA has instituted to help improve the lives of the transit riding public. In Jacksonville, Karen Adams, JTA Making Moves.
In preparation for the opening of the new Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at LaVilla, the JTA began testing one of the unique features of the facility. The new 60,000 plus square foot JTA headquarters building was designed around the existing Skyway platform directly across from the Prime Osborne Convention Center. The Skyway trains will actually travel into the 2nd level of the building. JTA technicians recently began testing the system, taking the trains in and out of the soon-to-be-open facility.
Right now we're here at the JRTC, the new platform for the Skyway trains. We're getting prepared for being able to bring passengers into the JRTC station, which was the old Convention Center station. And so on March 30th, we're going to be, carrying passengers for the first time in over 2 years into the new JRTC station here at LaVilla. All the other stations that we have today have railings that are up, but with the new design now, we're more mimicking, systems of the day where it's more of an open platform where passengers just come up and there's no handrail and they just stand up and they wait for the vehicles to come in. So with that, we're going to have new technology that's going to have edge lighting that's going to flash and let people know that the train is coming in. If you get too close to the edge, we have a new camera system that's going to have analytics where it will be able to detect if someone gets too close to the edge. And again, it's going to sound off the light strip that's going to let people know with an audible warning to say, hey, you're getting too close to the edge, you need to step back and things of that nature.
The North Track will be an elevated testing site for the new autonomous vehicles that will eventually replace the Skyway trains. The entire system will be expanded from its current 2.5 miles to a full 10-mile autonomous network into Springfield, Brooklyn, Riverside, San Marco, and then down to the sports complex. You can take your own Skyway ride into the JRTC when it officially opens on March 30th. Durbin Park in northern St. Johns County, with its new housing developments and a new town center-esque retail development, is one of the fastest growing areas in Northeast Florida. It will also be home to JTA's latest regional express service. Beginning March 30th, the authority will launch the new St. John's Express Select. The limited stop service will run from this location near the Walmart to the new Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at LaVilla. The St. Johns County service will be similar to the popular Nassau Express Select JTA launched last year in Yulee.
Based on the success of the Nassau Express Select, JTA has now partnered with the St. Johns County Sunshine Bus to launch the St. Johns Express Select service. The service will provide 2 morning trips to Jacksonville and 3 afternoon trips returning to St. Johns County. The express route will travel along US 1 and I-95, beginning at the St. Johns County Government Complex, stopping at Durbin Park, before ending in Duval County at the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at LaVilla.
JTA is also planning to run another regional service, this one from Baker County. That would also give JTA express service connections to all 4 surrounding counties. When we come back, I'll join our team of award-winning correspondents to look back at some of the top local transportation stories of 2019. So leave the remote where it is. You won't want to miss this.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
You can achieve a lot using your imagination. I mean, I don't like to brag, but... Wait, who's that? And why is she all over these achievement awards? But with STEM, the sky's the limit. Shaboom! Use STEM to envision... Okay, I'm seeing it. Yeah. Invent...
Got any ideas?
I've got a few, actually. And create a better world.
Told you she's super smart.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at SheCanSTEM.
Welcome back to Making Moves. 2019 was an amazing year at the JTA. New road construction going on all over the city. A new flyer route to the beaches. The ferry got a complete overhaul, and it transported a record 400,000 passengers. And we saw the autonomous vehicle program take a huge leap forward. So let's bring in some members of the Making Moves team who brought you those stories and so much more during the past year. We have our senior reporter, Eugene Lindsay. Eugene's been with the show 10 years now. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, 10 years, Bill. I tell you what, we've covered some great stories over the past 10 years, and it just goes by fast.
And in between us is the communications manager for JTA, David Cotton. He joined JTA and Making Moves about 10 months ago. Welcome, guys. Good to have you both here.
Good to be here.
It was a great year. So I'm kind of wondering, what was the story that kind of stood out to each one of you? We'll start with you, David.
Well, really the stories, Bill, that really resonate with me are the coverage of our JTA Mobility Works programs, our construction projects. I think throughout the city, it's pretty tangible. You can see the change in the infrastructure of the city, and our capital programs and constructions teams really do it quietly and are making a difference in the city.
Eugene, what do you think?
I tell you one thing that really resonated with me was that beautiful sunny day that the United States Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao came down from Washington, D.C. to announce that Jacksonville and the JTA was one of about almost 900 cities who applied for a build grant in the city, and the JTA was awarded, $25 million in total. Part goes to the JTA, part goes to the city, and JTA's plans for that money is to help facilitate the Bay Street corridor, if you will. So that's going to be exciting to see all of that starting to happen. And it just told me that JTA and the city is on the cusp of something big happening with transportation and entertainment here in Jacksonville.
I think for me, it was the fare increase. It was the first one in 7 years, and you were kind of expecting there to be a lot of pushback, but CEO Nat Ford put out this video that was played at all the public meetings and kind of outlined all of the great and achievements that JTA has done in that 7 years, and I think that really kind of sold to the public. You know what? It's okay. They've done all these things. 25-cent increase isn't really going to hurt me that much, and we really saw very little pushback on a fare increase. And typically nobody wants to pay more for something, but I found that pretty remarkable. So, we've had so many other stories. Eugene, one of the things that you covered this year was as part of the 30th anniversary to the Dames Point Bridge celebration. You focused on the areas, especially North Jacksonville, that saw economic growth because of that bridge. And you remember back in the day, it was the bridge to nowhere, and now there's 70 or 75,000 people a day that use it. What did you find out there when you were doing that story?
Well, I tell you what, Bill, if you compare when I was there 5 years ago and kind of did the 25th anniversary of the Dames Point Bridge to 5 years later, certainly the momentum was already there 5 years ago with the growth on the north side. But when you compare it to what's happening today, you see so much more development going on when it comes to housing developments, to communities, apartments, everything from hospitals and healthcare facilities, and not to mention the array of shops and restaurants and other businesses that has come into that area. And the thing that really resonated is about that people are excited about living in North Jacksonville now, whereas, years ago it was like the place you didn't want to be. Now it's like, hey, it's the place to go. And I think one of the realtors, that I spoke with said that, they don't see an end in sight right now as to the growth and development there. So,
and one thing I think that a lot of the community really don't realize is the overall impact that JTA has in the community. They see the buses, they see the Skyway, and some of the road construction if it's in their neighborhood. But David, you did a story that really kind of showed the bigger picture on what JTA means to this community.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. $198 million economic impact, and that was just measuring 2018. And typically, what you see with this study is it's not only the options with our transportation options. It is the people who work for the JTA, the people who contribute to the local economy here, and then also the goods and services that benefit from people riding our system, getting to that shopping center or getting to the grocery store, that sort of thing. It is amazing to see it. I think we all know that the JTA is part of the fabric of this city, but I think when you see a study behind it and the actual hard numbers, you really can't ignore it. A $198 million economic impact to Jacksonville is at the center of a new study conducted by the University of North Florida. Professor Albert Lowe of UNF's Coggin College of Business looked at JTA's overall effect on the local economy during the fiscal year 2018. The study considered things like economic output, employment, labor, compensation, and tax payments that stem from JTA operations. Lowe says the study should give taxpayers and paying customers confidence that the JTA is a good return on investment.
And even for those who do, they probably don't have a very good idea in terms of how much value they can place on JTA's operation and all the benefits it provides.
Lowe found that customers who use JTA services as opposed to their own vehicles saved $34 million in 2018 on transit-related expenses.
I think that's one of the reasons why this show is so important, because we're able to kind of show and tell the community about those kind of things that that aren't typical. It's like, it's not a bus story, it's not a Skyway story, it's not a construction story. It is a JTA story. and that, and it really shows the, the enormity of what, the agency has in this community.
Well, and it's also a situation where, again, the employees at the JTA, the nearly 800 people who work at the authority every day are part of this community, right? They're your bus drivers, they are the people in engineering and construction, again, the people who work in marketing and public affairs. Everybody is part of this community, and they certainly care very much about the growth of this area.
Okay, give me your favorite moment of 2019.
Favorite moment of 2019? Well, I tell you what, you talk about all of the stories that we cover, and we cover an array of different stories when it comes to transportation, road construction, and the like. But one thing that I really enjoyed covering last year was and it's really light, but it was the JTA bus rodeo. You mentioned about the employees and the camaraderie there. To see the bus operators and the mechanics come together and take so much pride in putting on display what they do every day, and then bringing out their families and coming together with the administration inside the JTA and just having a really warm, lighthearted, fun day and showcasing their talents. It was just a joy to cover, I tell you.
And the best part about the 2019 rodeo is that the group that won locally also went to the state, which JTA and Jacksonville hosted, and then one state, which was amazing. I mean, everybody won, so that was an amazing day for JTA.
Absolutely.
David, what do you think?
I would say the autonomous vehicle program continues to really prosper at the JTA. Earlier this fall, we got the chance to test the first ADA compliant shuttle in the country. That's in Jacksonville, nowhere else in the country. And working with our, the disability community, the folks with our first responder folks, to ensure that this technology is safe for everybody, is accessible for everybody. And that's a huge step in this program's development.
Eugene Lindsay, David Cotton, thanks for your insight today and your great storytelling this past year. I can't wait to see what's coming in 2020.
I'm sure there'll be a lot out there to cover, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
We'll be right back.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Because of you, I feel not alone in this world. And you let me know that it only takes one person to make you feel wanted.
Welcome back to our look back at the top stories we covered here on Making Moves in 2019. Joining us now, our correspondent Karen Adams. Karen has been reporting for us since 2018, and associate producer and videographer Carlos Bouvier. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Karen, you did a story on those painful delays caused by the trains in San Marco. I think anybody who lives in that area or travels through that area has experienced that.
Right.
JTA is one of the agencies that's working on a permanent solution for that problem. Let's take a look at that, a little bit of that story right now.
You can call it a commuter nightmare. The trains running through San Marco and parts of downtown Jacksonville are frustrating since you never know how long you're going to have to wait. It could be a couple of minutes, up to a couple of hours. Susanna Barsky lives in San Jose Forest. She knows the frustration firsthand. Her daughter Elia goes to Bishop Kinney High School.
And once about every 3 weeks, we'll get stopped by the train and she will be late for school. And it'll make her very late for school. So it's very inconvenient. It can be a real inconvenience.
Another problem with potentially serious consequences, the trains can block access to the South Bank Medical Complex, forcing ambulances taking patients to the hospital to sit and wait. It's reasons like these that caught the attention of the U.S. Department of Transportation. A newly approved $35 million project is in the works to fix the problem.
Now, what I found most interesting is that while you guys were out on that story, you kind of found another story, and that was about the noise that goes on with all this train blast. That was in some cases even more significant than the traffic.
Right. Well, in so many ways, San Marco is such a quaint little town. And as we know, it abuts itself right up to downtown Jacksonville. Carlos lives there as well. And the noise is terrible because there is an ordinance in place that anytime a train is coming through for safety, they have to blow the horns. And so because of the close proximity to those homes and the tracks, it literally wakes people up at all hours of the day, and you can attest to that as well, right, Carlos?
Well, during the day it's not as bad because of the noise of the traffic and the thousands of cars. But in the middle of the night at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, particularly in Sunday mornings when there is no traffic and no city noise, it's scary at the time. I'm telling you, I jump out of my bed a few times in the middle of the night because...
And we've interviewed people that said they actually what do they say? They levitated up out of the bed because it's just so loud.
And it's real. It will wake you up in the middle of the night, and that, in my eyes, is pollution. It's noise pollution. So,
right.
And so it was very nice to see San Marco Councilwoman Leanne Camber to really tackle the issue and be aware of the issue, and hopefully after these changes happen soon in terms of the railroad crossings in San Marco, we can actually make the blowing the horn, a thing of the past.
Right, and she's a councilwoman, as you just mentioned, but she has a lot of ties to the transportation industry as well, with a lot of inroads in Washington, D.C. and so forth. So she's the perfect person to make sure that this gets done.
Now, another story that kind of really hit a nerve with you was the pedestrian death story that you did recently.
Yes.
That, Jacksonville was 4th worst in the nation, dropped down to 6th worst, which seems like progress, but the number of deaths actually went up. Kind of what really kind of struck a nerve for you on that story?
Well, the whole thing is that, being in Florida and the lanes here, the state was really, when it was thought out, it was more of a vacation destination. So it was really built for cars. It really wasn't built for pedestrians. So you have these really, long lanes like Beach Boulevard, Atlantic Boulevard, Phillips Highway, San Jose Boulevard, and so forth. It makes it almost impossible for pedestrians to cross. So, just seeing how the city is structured, and it's not just Jacksonville, it's all of Florida. It's Miami, it's Orlando, it's Tampa, West Palm. So we do have a lot of traffic fatalities, pedestrians, and bicyclists. So it's not safe. So the thing is to really be vigilant out there and remember that the pedestrians do have the right of way.
And Carlos, when you were out shooting a lot of the video and talking to some of the folks on this story, it was so easy to find people who were not using the crosswalk properly, who were like darting in and out of traffic in between cars,
jaywalking.
And it's one of those things that you don't pay attention in your daily basis until you're like, I had to do this story and pay attention to how people cross, and really I was surprised. I was surprised how careless people was. And I'm talking about couples with children.
Are you talking about the people that are actually crossing the street, or the motorists that are driving and so forth?
In my experience, I didn't see many motorists doing really bad things that will put in jeopardy the life of pedestrians. But filming, I came out in one day, I came out about 200 people crossing in a completely unsafe manner. Rather they cross halfway into the block, or when the light was in red, or I can go on and on and on. And really it was easy to film that story because I came out into the community to film pedestrians, and there was people doing,
breaking the law, essentially.
Breaking the law, exactly. You said it right. I didn't want to say breaking the law, but.
Well, those flashing pedestrian crossing lights that you showed in this story, those were something that looked like they could really be a lifesaver.
Yeah, they worked out really well. We would, how it works is if you're about to cross the street, you hit the button, and then the lights automatically start to flash. So they're bright yellow, and it really gives the drivers a chance to see, somebody's ready to cross, and they slow down.
And a great thing is they're popping up all over town. You see them more and more now that when we did the story, now I see them all over.
8 of the top 9 worst cities in the country
are right here
in Florida.
In Florida.
So tell me about your favorite moment from one of the stories that you covered in 2019?
Oh, well, probably the best story that I've done since I've worked here at JTA. We did a story where there was a bus driver, and this just goes to show that, you know, the people that are driving these buses are human too. The bus driver's going down the road, and he notices a little boy that was in the front yard. And he notices the child starting to walk closer to the street. And right as he's passing, he then pulls over, and he sees in his rearview mirror that the little boy is literally in the street. So he pulls the JTA bus over, puts his flashers on, he runs back, he grabs the little boy out of the middle of the street. The little fella can't really speak that well, he's like only a year and a half old, and he takes him back up to the house. What had happened is the front door was open, and I think the parents may have been asleep, and the little boy wandered out and would have gotten killed had it not have been for the JTA bus driver, Mr. Brooks, George Brooks, and he was just heartwarming to see that.
That was a great story.
Yeah.
Carlos, what about you?
I love the story about the autonomous vehicles. I love technology, so that's the future, and I've done several of those. What surprised me the most about those stories that I've done, how normal was for kids to interact with the autonomous vehicle. And so some of the stories, they took the autonomous vehicle to the Riverside Art Market and that sort of public places. And you can see adults coming in and kind of like, well, I don't want to touch anything. I don't understand what is this for. So, and then you will see this 5, 6, 8-year-old walking into the autonomous vehicles and go straight to the tablet that is there and start to touch it and see where it will take me. So how natural for the new generation it is to interact with these new technologies. Mm-hmm. So that was great. That was very fun because they see it like a toy, right? We see it like a very serious stuff, but
they're not afraid of technology.
No.
I mean, that's
it's
who
natural.
they are.
And I'm like technologically challenged. I don't want anything to do with that. I'll have my daughter go figure it out, and she gets that stuff.
Well, one of these days you're going to get rid of that rotary phone, and you'll be fine.
Oh no!
So let's move on to 2020. Kind of what excites you about JTA and transportation in 2020?
I'm really pleasantly surprised how incredibly successful JTA is. Mm-hmm. If you consider how big Jacksonville is, the challenges for public transportation, the service that is provided is amazing. And with the leadership of Mr. Ford, I think it's trickled down all the way throughout the 800 employees. And I see it all the time, and every time that I interact with JTA, how committed you are to the community, not only to provide today's service, right now, the bus that you need, the ready ride, but 10, 20 years from now with the autonomous vehicles, with all that is coming with the new building in downtown. So not only what you have achieved up till today, but it will continue for the 10, 20 years ahead of us. So that is awesome.
And that wraps up this edition of Making Moves. A big thank you to all the Making Moves correspondents who joined us today and do great work for you year-round. If you want to see more of their work, a link to our YouTube channel is available at jtafla.com. You can also find stories and other exclusive content when you like our Facebook page at facebook.com/JTA Making Moves. I'm Bill Milnes. For the entire Making Moves team, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.